Welcome into another Sunday night Pod Blender Unfiltered number 60 Trace, however you say that. I am Pod Blender and I welcome you in to hang out with me for a little while and hear me rant and rave and talk about whatever's on my mind. I appreciate any and everybody who comes in to hang out. Pop in, pop out, man. If there's a topic you don't like, I get it. If there's a topic you do like, feel free to comment. Feel free to say whatever is on your mind. You will not get banned here unless it is just so offensive that YouTube literally makes me do it. But I'm not a big fan of that. I like a marketplace, free marketplace of ideas. I don't mind having people call me out. And at the same time, I will do my best to research and whatever I could do to educate myself also. However, I still have my opinions. They're probably not going to change, as most of you are the same way. But it doesn't mean that we can't come to an agreement or whatever about what's on your mind, what's on my mind, and even on the same topic. And I got a few things to bring up tonight. The main topic tonight is going to be the video games industry and where we're at with video games and why they are where they are. I've got some interesting information saved about who owns what. I have a survey that's put out at the Games Developer. It's called the GDC, Games Developer Conference. And they survey everyone that attends. And then they gather that data and they put that data together to give you an idea of the state of the gaming industry from a developer point of view in the current year. And there's some interesting statistics in there that might interest you. It interested me, considering I do like playing video games. And I've watched the video game hobby or career or whatever you want to call it for some people really be in a tailspin for like 15 years. So interesting stuff there. I do have a couple other stories, nothing crazy, but I do want to recognize anybody and everybody who comes in. And some stories I will save for Tuesday night with Matthew, but that makes sense. And Stanley, if I did put a 7:30 start time, it's only because I think I set this stream up really late. So most people know it's later in the night. So if anybody was here at 7:30, praise you. I would be remiss if I didn't introduce the lovely, the talented, the one and only Otis McDonald and the band. Come on, Otis, bring it hard. We're going to drop the snare drum. All right. Let's bring it down, Otis. Let's bring it down a little bit. All right. Won't blow nobody's speakers out. Anyway, I am terrible about reminding people. Oh, no. I lost my one cool thing that I had. So give me a second. I got to retrieve it. Okay, I'm terrible about reminding people about my streams, and, it is what it is. But I like watching you guys, actually, to be honest with you. And lurking many, many times, especially when I have my boy over for the weekend. Speaking of which, this is one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time. A glow-in-the-dark football, folks. Glow-in-the-dark football with a Type-C charging port, because my son is in the football lock, stock, and barrel. And we grabbed this at Walmart last night, and we were outside throwing this ball after his birthday party, which he turned 18 on February 20th. But I had to wait until this weekend to have a birthday party for him. And Shane, that's why 3-Star was late to your stream, which you already know. My apologies. But I actually did bump the party up a couple of hours because I want to make sure that he could at least make your stream. And I hate that he made it kind of on the back end, but I wanted to bump it up a couple hours so that he'd be able to join you since your cohorts were at ZoloCon. And so instead of having it at 5 o'clock Central, I was like, hey, let's have it at 3. Darren can come over for, hour and a half or something and then head back home and jump on the stream with you. So my apologies for him being late. But we had a good time. But this is awesome. This is awesome. If you have kids and they like football, you can throw this thing in the middle of the night, dude, and it is freaking crazy how well you can see it. And then when it goes out, you just hit it again and it lights back up and you just charge it up. Look at that form. Look at that. Look at that grip. Ladies and gentlemen, that's professional right there. So, nonetheless, as Shane says, let's do this thing. Games, video games, sports games, social puzzle solving games. Topic seems pretty open-ended. It does, but it is video games. It's video games. Specifically, video games, Stanley. HK Viper, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Clint Jorgensen says our Pokemon Go community here is losing a lot of people. It's because didn't that game come out 10 years ago? These game companies are driving people away in droves. They are, and I'm going to tell you why. And I think you know why. I know the thumbnail has a little secret or a little Easter egg, but that is not all that it entails. There's a lot more in there. A lot more in there. Stu for lunch. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you, man. Pop, Blender. Howdy and hello to the chat room. Howdy and hello to you. Eric Thurman on the West Coast. What's up, brother? Good to see you, man. Crusty Old Crow hanging out, man. You hang out as long as you can. I know you're on Canadian time, which is different than my time. Not by much, I don't think. Maybe where you're at, but you can let me know otherwise. Let's see here. Oh, this isn't public domain music clip. I think if this is, I believe this is. This is the. This comes straight from StreamYard, I believe. I could be wrong. I need to maybe change it. Stanley says also charging football. How's the centrifugal force balance? It's fine. It's perfectly fine. You can throw spirals with this thing. I think what the most amazing thing is that you can be 40 feet away or further, much further, and your eye tracks the glow-in-the-dark football, even though you might be able to faintly see the person on the other end you're throwing to. But when you're in a backyard or something like that, right? There's backyard lights. There's whatever. You can see the person. But it's fun tracking it down in the dark. And it's something that I wish I'd have had that as a kid. Maybe some of y'all did too. I wish I'd have had it as a kid to be able to throw a glow-in-the-dark freaking football. Turk Murphy, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. And Clint says it is the 10-year anniversary this July 6th of Pokemon Go. Boom! I hit that shit. Damn, 10 years of Pokemon Go. You guys remember when people were walking out in the middle of the fucking road? You guys remember when people were getting shot over Pokemon Go? You guys remember when people were going to the park and getting lost in the woods, chasing down Pokemon because they had to catch them all? It's fascinating. Clint, give me a little more information on this. Say our Pokemon Go community is losing a lot of people. I am curious about that. I'm curious about that. I have not thought about that game. There we go. That's a familiar tone. I have not thought about that game in a really, really, really long time. Oh, no. I don't know if you guys can see this. Actually, hang on. I can't do that. I'm not going to reveal my source. Wow. So there might be something a little crazy going on from the United States right now. I don't know if you've heard about it. I'm not going to dive into it. That's not what this stream is going to be about tonight. I will tell you my thoughts. I think this is 20 years overdue. I think this is something that should have been done a very long time ago. Those are my thoughts. You may not agree, and that's okay. But it's a group of people that are not to be trusted. And I'm going to show you the difference between America and Iran, or Iran. Iran so far away. I'm going to show you the difference between the two groups of people and how they're handling this. And it's interesting. The people that are furthest away from a situation seem to be the ones who know the least. Isn't that funny how that happens? I don't know. Let's see here. Crow says a Pokemon took our jobs. They took our jobs. Our Pokemon jobs. We still are out walking, especially with half incubators going right now. Yeah, right. No kidding. 10 years ago, Clint, you're probably out there walking just fine. 10 years later, Pokemon Go requires a respirator, an inhaler, and some ibuprofen, doesn't it? 3-star is here. Like I said, was at the potty. What's up, man? Yeah. My son is not big on like being the center of attention. He's not that kind of kid. He doesn't mind the party, but he's not like, it's my birthday, celebrate me. It's not really his thing. But I know he likes, the family getting together as it gets smaller and smaller. But I know he does like that. So it was very, very good. And my arm and bicep are really sore from throwing football 3 days in a row. We actually went out to a park today and found a park that had field goals. So we had goal posts. And went out. He's kicking field goals on goal posts. And making them, as I was behind the goalpost catching the ball. I got him this thing where you can set the ball up and then you put this thing on the top of the ball and it keeps it like upright and you can kick it and practice. Anyway, and then I walked down on the field to throw a couple balls with him and I noticed that there was like 15 mosquitoes all over me. So I don't know what they did to this. Check one. Can you hear me now? Check one, check one. Let's see. Ah, there we go. Now I know what's going on. Yes, yes, and yes. Lovely. Now I just got to make sure that I can hear my stream loud and clear. Yeah, I got to make sure I can actually hear. There we go. Lovely. Okay, if it happens again, I don't know. I got to tell you, man, this hadn't happened in a long time. Okay, really quickly, let me bust through this. Booyah! Stanley says, video games. I was a button masher as a kid. NES, my disability, limited dexterity. Playing was never easy enough to be fun, but I enjoy watching friends play while socializing on the couch. I mean, as long as you get some enjoyment out of it. And Stanley, I've met you. I understand, right? I understand. I know where you're at. And yes, now I will tell you, Xbox has made great strides in accessibility. So if you ever feel the need that you want to check back in to playing some games, Xbox has made some amazing controllers. They partnered up with third-party companies, and they want to make accessibility. So if that's something that you are interested in, man, like, check it out. Totally check it out. Evil Dookie, let's see. Oh, no. I heard Evil Dookie got bumped from his own stream. I heard he got kicked from his own stream. And evidently that's exactly what's happening to me. I didn't see the image, but by God, I gotta find it. Somebody text me that image. Let's see. Yeah, look, I'll do what I can for my guests. All right, I'll do what I can for my guests. Stanley also says, so my video game budget is zero. Well, and look, you're collecting toys and stuff. I don't expect, I definitely don't expect video games to be on your agenda, to be honest with you. Yeah, Nolan, I guess so. I had none. I haven't had any in a long time. It is what it is. And then, yeah, I think the music just kicked up and, went apeshit crazy. So, but I think it should be good now. Should be good now. Okay, so let me get back to what I was going to share with you guys as to how different people celebrate. Oh, God. I already know it. Oh, yes. All right, I'm going to share this image with you guys first, and then I'm going to share this image with y'all first, and then I am going to I'm going to share what I wanted to share. I mean, if that isn't the look of someone who is like, no, stop, get away, stop it, no, please don't, stop. Oh God, sweet Jesus, Todd C. I wish it was that easy, man. I wish it was that easy. Okay. Let's get it on. Yeah, Xbox. I do have a little bit to say about Xbox and also some other stuff. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is how some people protest and some people celebrate. It is, Iranian women celebrating their freedom, American women protest. And I want you guys to tell me why. I want y'all to tell me what's the difference? Where is the difference? Because I had a friend message me earlier and was like, and look, you know how it is. But I had a friend message me earlier. Why are the only people that right? Like, God damn, it is loud, isn't it? I hate this. Fucking StreamYard. Fuck StreamYard. Fuck StreamYard and its asshole. Seriously, there has to be a better way. I think I'm going to switch to OBS for my solo streams. I'm over this bullshit. I seriously am tired of it. Even all the little, shit you can fuck with, I don't give a shit. I'm tired with it. But nonetheless, yes, this is the disconnect. I don't understand. And again, I'm not going to get into the what's happened. You guys have seen the videos of the strikes nonstop on loop, I'm sure. Every time I saw one, watching it with my son, I was like, boo, boo, I love that shit. I ain't gonna lie. But I don't understand the disconnect, right? Yeah, I know. It was in the reel. Well, the problem is that when so just so you guys understand, my whole computer rebooted. And it reset all of my volume settings, my settings on my audio. And so then, as I thought this was playing, it actually wasn't reset on my audio to come through my headphones. So I didn't know this was playing for you guys. So I apologize. But normally I would not do that, as I'm very particular about shit like this. But you guys try to explain to me the disconnect. Explain to me like what the disconnect is in why this is what it is. We have American women, over here pissed off about, Iranian women getting freedoms. And when Trump says take control of your country, this is your opportunity. This is your chance to take your country back. It doesn't happen often. Right? This isn't happening in China. This is not happening in other places, but this is an opportunity. And as Matthew says, brainwashing. And it's sad. It's really sad. Now, I don't care what you think about Trump, and I fully understand why people think about Trump what they do. I fully understand. I'm not stupid, okay? But this is an opportunity. And yet, American women are basically doing what they're told, which is what Iranian women were doing for decades and decades, right? But not because they wanted it, because their freedom, their livelihood, their hands, their feet, their tongues, their sexual organs. Okay? And I think the disconnect with American women is that you have these feminists, as you guys are basically like, Eric says here, modern feminism, and 3 Star says those Iranian women look like they're at a great concert. Well, Todd, the American women are protesting the strike on Iran. And it's funny because I mentioned earlier, the people that are at the furthest away from a situation act like they know the most. And look, I'm All right, we're gonna fucking do it this way. Fuck that shit. I bring out the old camera and just do what the fuck with it that I can. So we'll see what happens. Man, you want to talk about getting pissed off? There's a piss brother off right here. Holy fuck. All right, so you might see the little green screen, whatever. I don't give a shit. I'm over that shit. Okay. Hopefully this won't restart my computer. Boom. Okay. Holy fuck. Woo. Okay. Yeah, evidently he doesn't have it anywhere else. That's for sure. So, all right. So my point, hopefully, that I can get into is that, yes, I am guilty of talking about Australia or Britain or France or Germany or other places. But I think trying to read information and come at things from a educated point of view. This, I think, is a lot of people that have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. And not only is it modern feminists, but what you will find is a lot of LGBTQ people in these groups that are protesting. And I think it is literally they have no clue. And I think a lot of people are paid. I think there's a lot of paid protesters. I don't think at this point, I don't think any of us would not believe that there are a lot of people getting paid to go out there when they show up at every protest. There's photographic evidence, there's video evidence of the same people at all over the country. They don't care about the cause. They care about the paycheck, right? And when that's the case, then you know what you're dealing with. Tony's Figs, how you doing, man? Having some technical difficulties. Hopefully that will dissipate as we go on. Actually, and you know what? Give me 3 seconds. I'm going to cut my other camera off just to make sure, because literally my computer's reset twice just in the last 10 minutes. Okay. So again, I just wanted to show the differences between how people are celebrating or talking about this. This is something, in my opinion, that needed to be done 20 years ago. I mean, it just did. I'm not going to lie. And that's how I feel about it. I know a lot of people. I know, right? Is there a giveaway? That's why I'm getting crushed here, right? And then you see how NBC News is covering this as well. And I like to show how the media is covering things because it gives you an idea of kind of where we're at. This is NBC News. Large crowds of mourners gathered in Ingalab Square in the center of the Iranian capital, Tehran, this morning after the killing of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Following the confirmation of his death in Iranian state media. Do you mean to truly tell me, do you guys truly believe that all these people are mourning the death of the Ayatollah? On top of this, we really don't even really know where this picture's from. It will get fact-checked to hell and back. But do we really believe that from NBC News that this actually is the state of people mourning the death? I mean, come on. Like, seriously. Like, we have to be smarter than this. We have to be smarter than this. And, yeah, that's what I think. You know, honestly, I do. But I will tell you something that I thought very interesting, though. And I thought, you know, CNN and some other news channels covered it. And I think they were also surprised. Is that you saw people in Iran yelling out, like, thank you, Trump. Thank Trump. Like, you know, chanting out. Going down the streets. That's a weird scene, man. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear it. And a lot of people don't like it. And it's not because of what happened. It's because Trump is involved. If Trump was not involved, if this was a Democratic president, there'd be praise and there'd be a lot of people that would be so happy. But because it's not, it's just automatically like, oh, no, we can't have this. And I mean, I do truly believe that. I do. But it was interesting watching the video of people, dancing and singing and chanting, thank you, Trump. And that's honestly not something that we hear enough. I mean, look, again, I get it. I understand, and I do. I understand a lot of people do not care for him, and I can understand why. I also feel that there's a lot of things that I think, like, we need to have gotten a grip on illegal immigration. Okay? Just in my region alone, I've noticed the differences that these things have made. You may in your own neck of the woods as well. And so that one aspect where we saw videos for 4 years of just tens of thousands of people pouring over the border, regardless of how you feel about people trying to seek a better life or women and children only from Mexico, right? It's only women and children, right? But whatever you feel about that, the fact is that unchecked immigration leads to a host of issues that really destroy the fabric of communities, taxpayers in particular. Why is your car insurance so high? Do you want to know why your car insurance is so high? Your car insurance is so high because illegal immigrants are constantly getting in accidents and either fleeing the scene or constantly getting into accidents with no insurance. I mean, an insurance agent will tell you that. If you find an honest one, they will tell you that, because I have found honest ones and they have told me that. That is the single number one reason why insurance rates in this country have skyrocketed, in particular auto industry. It just is. I mean, and you may not want to hear that, but it is the truth. And the truth hurts. I'm not saying other people don't get into accidents, white people, black people, Asian people, whatever. But the number one reason why your auto insurance is so high is specifically because of illegal immigrants dying or being on the streets driving when they shouldn't be here in the first place. Now, again, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. I know that I definitely wanted to bring it up. Just to because you guys know what's going on. I know you do. So you don't need me to fill you in on Iran. You don't need me to fill you in because you're seeing it around the clock. And as much as I like to dabble in some political things and give my opinions, at the same time, it was a busy weekend. And honestly, I have not been able to give it the dedication that it deserves to be able to come on here coherently and speak to you about it through research and keeping up with it. I just happened to be up in the middle of the night when the strikes happened, and I saw them live when it was going on. But other than that, it's been a busy weekend with my son, and I pay more attention to him. But I do appreciate you guys being here, and obviously through the technical difficulties, which is a big pain in the ass. If everything sounds okay, then don't say anything. But if it sounds like shit, please let me know. The biggest fascist in the world has toppled 2 fascist regimes without declaring war. And I think that's the funniest part about it. All the talk about Trump being a fascist, and you see these interviews and these protesters, and they're, fighting fascism, and yet they don't even know what it means. But we've watched Maduro in Venezuela. We've watched Khomeini in Iran. We've watched these things happen in front of our eyes. And now Congress is having a special convene to discuss what just happened because they're pissed off that Trump acted without them. Now, we can get into that another day. Checks and balances are there for a reason. But checks and balances have been in place, and there's been a lot of checking and no balancing for a long time. And sometimes you just got to balance shit on your own, right? Sometimes you just got to balance your checkbook without your accountant. Matthew also says, did you see the reporter getting orders not to cover the celebration? And he said, F it. No, these people are chanting praises for Trump and waving Iranian liberation flags. I did see that. If you don't think there aren't reporters getting direct orders to somehow portray these celebrations as something other than a celebration, then you are sadly mistaken. I did see, though, where Khamenei on his X account said that he does have information that will lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton. And I found that fascinating. Fascinating that this just came out. Fascinating. I do think it's fucked up that the Clintons were able to, while everybody else is summoned to Capitol Hill to give their deposition for Epstein, that the Clintons were able to have them come to them and do it in private. And then when leaked photos got out, then everybody's pissed off that there were leaked photos of Bill Clinton laughing during these depots. But, the Clintons have gotten away with murder. Todd C says if Democrats were involved, they'd be paying them millions. Again, the weapons they used were funded by us. As so often is the case. I forgot where my camera was. I'm looking right here, and I'm like, oh shit, my camera's right there. I apologize. Scott Ritter and the Gray Zone. Okay. I will have to check out Scott Ritter and the Gray Zone, actually. Let me go bookmark. And yeah, Nolan, it's funny because I work in a bar. And obviously, people say, there's three things you don't talk about, right? Politics, religion, and politics and religion? I don't know, whatever. But yet somehow they always get brought up in a bar when people have been drinking. Trump just needed a second term. He's trying to get a third term, actually, which I also find fascinating. Yeah, paper ballots, man, I'm telling you, that's another issue that people, they poo-poo it and they joke about it and they say that it's not possible, voter fraud. But I think we know, and I'm one side or the other, however you feel about it. Okay. I honestly don't know how we can't acknowledge at this point, after we've seen videos in 2020 of midnight drops, right? We've seen enough. We've seen enough, and I think we need to understand and we need to acknowledge there is massive voter fraud. And I do firmly believe that it happened in 2020. Considering the numbers that were leading up to that election, I truly do. Let's see. Todd says also, I'm not pro-war, but it's reassuring to see how effective and competent our military is. And it is. Contrary to those telling you that it's not, it is effective. Obviously. I'm telling you, every time I see one of those streaks, I'm like, boom! Or strikes, rather. Every one of them. Boom! 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 I love seeing that shit. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, Benny Johnson, interesting follow. Interesting dude. Interesting follow. Okay, so. Yeah, paper is the only way to go. I don't know, man. Joe Fan 84 is in the house too. What's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. Okay. And as Eric says, 81 million not believable. I agree, 100%. 127.81 million%. Yes. No. No. Sorry. Can't believe it. It wasn't trending that way. It makes no sense. I don't think anybody would, yeah. Anyway. Okay. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know. You know what? Actually, no, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip that. I am. Something that got sent to me. It is quite interesting, but at the same time, I don't think it's really anything we need to take a look at. So, I do want to get into a little bit of film stuff, and I want to get you guys' opinion about something. All right? I do want to get you guys' opinion about something, and I want to know what you feel, what you think about something. And Matthew and I are going to talk about this. We are going to talk about this. But I want to get your opinion on something that just recently came up. All right, so let me pull this bad boy up here since my computer reset twice. Okay, there we go. News, Hollywood. All right. I know Matthew's in the chat, and for that I am always thankful. But and I will discuss this at length with him. But I want to get you guys' idea about, the background looks a little different. It's probably crazy bright, whatever now, because of my camera. My camera's all jacked up. And it's also lower than what it normally is, Joe Fan. That's why. My computer restarted a couple times. Okay. I want to see what you guys think about this. What do you guys think about a G.I. Joe movie at Paramount? What do you guys think the direction for a G.I. Joe movie should go? Max Landis, who got Me Too'd even though no charges were filed. We've heard that before a million times. Max Landis, whose career imploded during #MeToo, also Pick Me, returns with G.I. Joe movie at Paramount. At the same time, one Danny McBride will also be writing a separate G.I. Joe script. Now, this is an interesting way to go about it. And they've done this before. Okay, they've done this before. You're having two separate scripts written to then bring them together and meld them into one script. Okay? Yeah, and as Nolan says, guilty before trial. Unfortunately, with the Me Too movement, it was a power grab by J.J. Abrams' wife and the females in Hollywood. No more, no less. Weeks after celebrating and having wine with Harvey Weinstein, they then turned against him, sent him to prison, and then got rid of every male and pale and stale creative in Hollywood for the most part, which means that you're male, you are white, and you are older. Okay? This will be live action, Stanley. This will be live action. Okay? So, and as Noel says, hopefully it'll be good this time. I agree. I did not care for both G.I. Joe movies that were made. But I want you guys' opinion. I want you to tell me what direction. Because here we go. The David Ellison-owned studio, Paramount, who has been given the green light to purchase Warner Brothers. At this point, Netflix has dropped out. Okay? Paramount has tapped Max Landis, the screenwriter canceled in the late 2010s during the height of the Me Too movement, to work on a treatment for a feature adaptation of the Hasbro toy brand. At the same time, it has also hired the Righteous Gemstones star and creator Danny McBride to work on a separate script for Joe. According to several sources, the studio will then try to blend the two scripts into one, but a studio source says that these are two separate projects. And God, modern media, I got to show you something, folks. Modern media right here. And of course, this won't let me do it because modern internet. But the word two right here, Studio Source says that these are two separate projects. That should be TWO. Does anybody proofread shit on the internet anymore? Okay. As we all know, Lorenzo di Bonaventura is the producer behind the Joe movies. Developing two scripts at the same time is somewhat rare, but not unheard of. It occurred with the rise of studios' focus on franchises and big IP plays in the 2010s. Warner Brothers' Tarzan and Universal's The Mummy reboot, which was horrific, by the way, had writers working on two versions before their elements merged or one script raced ahead. While not employing this method exactly, Paramount previously put its Transformers and Star Trek movie franchises on multiple tracks with several scripts developed, including a G.I. Joe Transformers crossover movie. And then it goes on to talk about hiring Max Landis, which is like, oh my God, hire a guy that's never been charged, even though he was accused in Me Too, but he never got charged. He never was guilty of anything. Fucking women. Nonetheless, Max Landis is a big nerd. He is a comic book nerd. He is a G.I. Joe nerd. He is a Transformers nerd. He is a DC nerd. He is a Marvel nerd. He is a huge nerd. And so my question that I pose to you fine viewers is this. What direction would you make a live action G.I. Joe movie? Would you stay true to the source material and go period piece, 80s, not camp, but maybe lean into the original uniforms, the original look? Would you have a hooded Cobra Commander? Or would you try to modernize it like they've already tried? What would you prefer? I'm going to guess most of you guys would like to hear, or see rather, a traditional period piece G.I. Joe, which is the only way I think it works. And with this new pro-America, and I know people see the news and they go, oh, there's people protesting. No. We're talking about the pulse of the majority of people. Let me get you guys' answers. Let's see. Eric says, as long as there isn't a giant CGI doing it like Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Joe Fan 84 says, me personally, I would make G.I. Joe start off with Cobra and show how he gains traction. Then the government starts G.I. Joe as a team that directly counters Cobra. Make Cobra have the properties they bought all over and pyramid schemes with moving companies. 3 Star says, I like Danny McBride, but I don't think I'd like what he'd probably bring to G.I. Joe. Very possible. I do think that, as Nolan says, it would be campy. HK Viper says, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think they can nail down a live action unless they give a writer free reign. I agree. Someone has to have. Now, they're doing 2 scripts here. Prequel, flashbacks, origin stories, says Eric. Nolan says also wouldn't mind it being a nice mix between the comics and the cartoon. I'll tell you what I think. And I saw a writer a couple, 3 years ago write a piece about this. And it was a black guy, shocker, that actually said it should lean into the 80s. It should be period piece, back into the Cold War, so to speak. Cobra should be a terrorist organization, and G.I. Joe should be a real American hero, not this worldwide counter-terrorist organization. And I agree 100%. 100% I agree with that. Now, if it also had, like hard R, lots of death, sex scenes, that would be okay. So that would be targeting us. If you're going to make a G.I. Joe movie, Who's your target audience? They're going to be 45 to 50 years old or 45 to 55, right? That audience has money. They have the ability to go to the theater. They will see something more than once if they so choose. I think that you should heavily target, you should heavily lean into the 80s. You should heavily lean into the look and the feel of the cartoon. I think not so much camp that it can't be taken seriously, right? But it does not need to be a modern take with modern uniforms. This needs to look and feel like a serial, okay? Think almost Indiana Jones, if that makes sense. Think Indiana Jones mixed with Star Wars in a way, Flash Gordon in a way, okay? Not saying you take those elements, but you take some of the elements of it. But in a serial sense, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. I also think it would also be absolutely fantastic if part of the story was them and the October Guard, a Russian team from the 80s, showing up and these two groups having to work together as part of your plot to help defeat Cobra. I think that would be fantastic. I think you make your bats look accurate. They're not hulking snake armor things, even though you could have snake armor. Make the bats accurate. Okay, Firefly, an accurate costume. Not some modern Kevlar gear thing, right? Zartan. Now, a lot of those things are hard to introduce into a 2-hour movie or an hour-and-a-half movie, okay? I get it. Would it be better as a series on Paramount rather than a movie? Because in a movie, you really are slimmed down as to what you can do and what you can introduce and how many storylines that you can do. But in a series, let's say 10 episodes, you're able to introduce different factions, different characters that you want to focus on. And then by season 2, you expand on those factions. You expand on those characters. You introduce new team members. I think that would be the way to go with it. A movie, it's not going to perform. The budget you're going to get, good luck making money. As much as we love buying the figures, folks, like we're not going to make this film successful. And that's where I find it. There's where the mistake is going to happen. They're going to try to make this for the majority audience of people, and they're going to try to introduce them, and that's where they're going to lose it, in my opinion. I think if they nail down the audience and they say, this is who this is for, and we're going to go all in on this, that would be the way that I would go with it. I just don't see how they're able to do this in movie form and actually make it to where people understand what's going on with G.I. Joe. Yes, G.I. Joe, strictly U.S. Action Force, can be there as foreign help, as JoeFan84 says. Nolan says, not sure if R would be the right direction. I don't think so. R is not the right direction. I would not ever go R with G.I. Joe. It is not a R-rated IP in any shape, form, or fashion. PG would be fine. 13, but yeah, let's see here. A Stripes reboot, I would love that. Clint says G.I. Joe should be a series so they can develop a lot of characters. Maybe you can't do that. There you go. That's what I just said. You said it before I even got it out of my mouth. But we're on the same page. Chuckles, the main character, I don't like that. I just don't like that. Unless you really want to adapt that story, and that could be fun, but I don't like that. We need to go. I don't know, man. Nolan also says, yeah, that would be awesome. They did that in both the comics and the cartoon. A long-running TV show. I just feel like at least a couple seasons. 3 Star says, I need a buddy operator comedy with Firefly and Scrap Iron. That would be kind of fun. That would be kind of fun, wouldn't it? Series over movie, says Stanley. I agree 100%. Matthew says, did you forget about the Amazon series they have for Lady J? I did not. It seems that Amazon did. Exactly. Okay. Here we go. We're cooking with grease now, folks. We're cooking with grease. This is what I want. I want your opinion. Duke runs season 1, Flint season 2, then Quick Kick season 3 through 20 runs things. I don't know if we're gonna get 20. If we're gonna get 20, but I like where you guys are going. That's what I'm talking about. Series is better, says HK Viper. Is better. Get Dreadnoks, Destro, Coco backstory. Hell, a Dreadnought series done right would be dope. I agree, but I don't think you can do that on its own. You have to have it introduced first. 16 plus audience would be good. I agree on live action. Excalibur would be fucking awesome, Eric. If you want to adapt some of the cartoon episodes, I'm good with that too. What's up, 610? Yojo Daddy, always telling everybody smash the like button and subscribe, which I feel most everybody is here, but dude, thank you so much as always. And then says watching the new full Marcus the Worm video with my boys. Okay, Marcus the Worm, that's a new one to me. I've got to check out Marcus the Worm. That's the other notation I have to get down here. I've got 2 of them now. Let's see here. All right, and okay. There it is. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Oh, VR chat. Okay, cool. Dig it. I like it. I like some VR. 3 stars is as long as they have the budget for a molecular reducer, enlarger, transducer. Wait, let's cut out the transducer part. Just the molecular reducer enlarger. Let's go there. We're just going to keep it there. After Cobra Law movie, we need none of that. And actually, 3 star, I would love a Worlds Without End live action episode. I think that would be awesome. That would be fun. Like, truly fun. But again, right, you've got characters you've got to introduce. Now, you know, the reality is we don't need a deep dive on every character. Like, we only need a couple 3 minutes, couple minutes. Each character, you can introduce them. You can get an idea of who they are, what they're about, their specialty, right? And go from there. But I do believe a series is the best way to go. And I would not mind a time machine and Duke trying to stop Cobra Commander. I actually, to be quite honest with you guys, what do you think about this? What do you think about them? And look, again, we're spitballing here. It's not going to happen. We could make it happen. We could probably make it happen if we really put our heads together and we wanted to do it in some shape, form, or fashion, whether that's through AI or whether that's through just a fan film. You know, obviously stop motion, but as has been done before. But I think adapting the 5-part miniseries that were done, right? Right, Revenge of Cobra would be fun. I mean, anything involving the mass device, Weather Dominator, I think those would be a lot of fun to adapt. I think those would be fantastic to adapt, actually. I really, truly do. Yes, they can take Ravenclaw back to get real dinosaurs. I mean, look, those possibilities are fun. Now, obviously, animated is what we're really talking about if you really want to get wacky with it. But since they're doing a movie... I truly believe that you need to introduce both factions. We don't need a lot of backstory. We need the characters introduced. We don't need to know how Cobra Commander, his backstory, like in that G.I. Joe movie, and why, you know, he's pissed off at Duke. Why? Because he got, left behind or whatever. Fuck it. We don't need all that shit. But we do need the characters. We need them introduced, who they are, where their hierarchy is within the order of each side, and then just move along from there. But we don't need a lot of backstory. We don't need a lot of exposition, right? And as you introduce new characters, you just introduce them. It's what they did in the cartoons. You can very easily do that in movie form if you're doing a movie and move along. And I think that would be just fine. I truly do. Let's see here. Clint says the cartoon deep dive into each character good enough. I agree. Of course, Duke, Snake Eyes Scarlet got more depth than some characters, yes, but then Flint got vacation episodes. Shipwreck got some great episodes. The Synthoid Conspiracy is so awesome as well, as far as, that'd be a lot of fun as a series, right? Can't do it in a movie. As a series, yes. And then Eric also says, wetsuit leatherneck love story. Eric, you sound like Thanos Copter. Let's keep that shit out of here, okay? Let's I'm sorry, but I had to unfollow that dude. I can't see. Those images are burned in my head, and I can't unsee them, and therefore I don't want to see any more of them. So I had to unfollow, and then like not interested. Yeah, that little notation. Yeah, I ain't got no time for that shit. I don't need to see what I saw yesterday. By the way, happy birthday, War Chest Full of Toys. I know you're not here. If you do pop in, just know that happy birthday. It is War Chest birthday, March the 1st, today. And he'll be in Nashville here in a couple days, actually. So I'm hoping to eat dinner with him maybe on Thursday night or maybe Tuesday night. I don't know. It's going to be tough. But I'd like to see him and go eat dinner, lunch, hang out, something like that. Okay. Anyway, yeah, no place like Springfield, right? I mean, there's so many possibilities. But nonetheless, yeah, a Max Landis G.I. Joe movie. There's Danny McBride. I know I left the screen on some bullshit. Whatever. Who gives a shit? Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Danny McBride is a talented guy. But he did write a lot on the Halloween trilogy recently, and then the Blumhouse Exorcist Believer, which was horrific. So I just don't know, right? I just don't know. No, I need no plastic peens, my friend. You know, I don't need to see Trump getting fucked in the ass while he's jerking off by some fucking stupid fruitcake toy collector taking pictures of whack ass shit like that. I'm just being honest. I don't need those pictures in my feed. So, unfollow. See ya. Not safe for work this stream, my friend. Dreadnought is here. Says, have some soup. It's great for pores. That's what I hear. Get some goulash, dude. Go get you some goulash. Yeah, can't believe you unfollowed Thanos. Yeah, nah, I can't do it. I'm sorry. I just can't get into it. Yeah, Dreadnought, we went down a nice little exercise of hoping and spitballing, which is fun. I know you guys did see this, though. And I have some thoughts about this. Mask just announced brand new project, and Transformers and G.I. Joe crossovers can now be a reality. Now, we know this, that Skybound is putting out a Mask comic. As a matter of fact, some of the covers I really, 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 really like. I think this is very, very cool. Look at these covers. I think one cover in particular is absolutely fantastic. We knew it was coming. We knew that we knew it was coming. We knew that it was, and also not only how much time it takes to do that, but like I don't know what he's doing while he's doing it. Right? You ever wonder how the characters are able to stand or stick together? I don't know. You tell me. Anyway, so this is another Skybound product that, as we've seen, Matt Tracker has been introduced. Spoilers into the G.I. Joe comic, into the Energon universe. We have seen Miles Mayhem introduced as well, and now they are being split off into their own comic. It is coming along. I do like this cover right here on the right with the purple. I think that's fantastic. I am one of those people, and look, I'm just going to be honest with you, because that's what I always do. I'm just going to shoot you straight from the hip. I know back in 2016, I think it was, that they decided to race swap Mac Tracker, right? And while a lot of people will say, what's the big deal? I don't care. I like this guy, which is fine, whatever. But if it wasn't a big deal, then why do it in the first place? Right? People always use that argument. They're like, what's the big deal if they race swap this character, or they gender swap this character? Like, what's the big deal? Well, if it wasn't a big deal, then why did you do it in the first place? If you didn't have a reason to do it, then why do it in the first place? That's where we should start with that argument. And while a lot of people don't care, and again, I get it, I don't care. I don't have that much affinity towards a mask, in all honesty. I just thought it weird because also, and this is what's funny, and people fail to remember this. The Matt Tracker originally was a philanthropist. He was a father. They race swap him, and he's like a delinquent, hard to get along with, like, piece of shit. And I find it interesting that they do that. Instead of keeping the character traits the same, they changed the character traits when they changed the race. And so that I find strange, right? If that makes any sense. But whatever. It is what it is. Hasbro's not going back. They are what they are. It is what it is. So we are getting Mask in the Energon universe. And what do you guys think about that? Do you find that interesting? Do you like the possibilities of Mask being brought in? Does Mask have a special place in your heart? Was it that big a deal, or do you think it was a bigger deal than what it really was to you when those toys came out? That's kind of my my curiosity about that with you guys. And Stanley, yeah, look, Goggins and McBride, I've seen them do some funny little promo videos and commercials together, and yes, in Vice Principals, they worked very well together. Very, very good tandem. And I love Danny McBride. As a writer, I'm not so sure. 3-Star says, I've already told Outer Limits to put Mask in my hold box in May. That's his local comic shop out where he lives, closest to where he lives. And yes, Thanos always chases the dragon in one way or another. The Sly Rax cover. This could be really fun, right? This could be really fun. Hey, that's why, Eric, I didn't want to dive too deep into that. I wanted to touch base on it, give you guys, kind of just a little bit, but I didn't want to go deep in it because I know we get bombarded with this stuff. So I wanted to bring up some fun shit, okay? And so here we are. Skybound Mask. Joe Fan 84 says, sounds like they already messed it up 10 years ago, maybe. And Nolan says, I get it in live action movies. It shows in animated form. I don't really get it. No, Mask is gay. 3-Star says, why would they go back? He's been Matt Blacker for 10 years now. Send it. No, of course they're not going to go back. And that was a change Hasbro wanted to make back then. Of course, at 2016, it makes all the sense in the world. Like, if you've ever seen the chart of all the redheads that got replaced as black people in Hollywood, like all the characters in animation and live action, it's a huge chart of nothing but redheads that got completely swapped. And some have been somewhat successful, a lot of them not as much. But again, that's not necessarily what this is about. I'm just curious to know, with Mask coming in, to the Energon universe, how many of y'all are reading the Energon universe comics? I'm enjoying it myself. The Transformers had a little bit of a lull. They kind of rebooted it with issue 25, I believe, and have injected a different animation or different art style, which I'm not quite sure I'm sold on yet. But and then there is some action going on with Alita 1, and maybe trying to take over for Optimus. And then, as Nolan says, that's if they're going with the best actor or actress for the part. And I'm a big believer in that. House of the Dragon, right? Great actor. Great job. Sells it. Right? Doesn't bother me. Matthew says, what, a black man can't be a rich guy giving out money? Of course he can, but they didn't make him that way. And that's what I find interesting. Whenever they do these swaps, they tend to take the lowest common denominator character traits and then apply those. Like, and not a swap, but just think about Ironheart for a second. Just think about Riri Williams for a second and the TV show and what they did for her legacy and what they made her out to be. Someone who stole the Iron Man suit when she was given millions and millions of dollars by the school to make it. Then she steals it, which is not her property. Then she joins a criminal gang, kills someone, is okay with it, and at the end ends up making a deal with the devil himself. Fantastic, right? Let's see here. All right, want to make sure I get you guys. Clint says, Stanley, are your sources saying that Utah has a chance to make the NHL playoffs? Whoa. Bobby Gold's in the house. So the thing that's most important to me is good story, and good characters. I agree, Bobby, 100%. I will always stand by that. Always. Eric is collecting this comics for sure. Let's see. Billy D. Williams as Two-Face. Yes. I know, right? I did like Billy as Harvey. I did like Billy as Harvey Dent. No problem there. Like Jim Gordon has been swapped out. No problem there if the character lines up and the acting or writing is good. I have no problem with that. Let's see here. HK says, I'm digging the Energon universe so far. Yeah, me too. Me too. Let's see here. Riri. Yeah, exactly. You already know what I'm talking about, man. Carlin was a genius, referencing Matthew's comment. George Carlin is a genius. More so every day. Fascism takes over with a smile, and identity politics is a losing battle. I agree. And yeah, I think Billy D as Two-Face would have been a lot of fun. And, his charisma at that time, still in 89 or 88 when they filmed it probably, still charismatic, right? Still young enough to pull that. Yeah, 100%. Now, it's funny, Dreadnought, is that, if you did that, you would come under a lot of heat. But then, a company can go out and make Anne Boleyn the wrong race, or try to convince people that Cleopatra was black, and that's a lot of people are like, that's okay. that's okay. It is an interesting conversation. Not a big fan of it. It is an interesting conversation. Nonetheless, a Mask comic book coming. I will be getting it. I will be curious to see how this ties in. My worry, and you guys know how this goes with comics, my worry is that they're gonna get too much, and then all of a sudden it's gonna be really trying to put all this shit together across multiple comics, then another offshoot. Then like we've seen with the G.I. Joe Energon universe, we had the Duke and the Scarlet and the Destro and the Cobra Commander, then you get the silent issues, then you get another one, then you get another one. And so, then you got the Transformers, right? I think Transformers, G.I. Joe, once we start branching out from there, it really starts to take on a life of its own. And I think they start stretching things way too thin. And not everybody cares about the second and third and fourth dairy Mask characters. And that's where you may start to run into problems. Just my opinion. But if we keep it nice and tight, we keep it easy to read, easy to follow, and also starts to get a little expensive. It just does. Starts to get a little expensive. So, $4.99 a book, $3.99 a book. Nonetheless, here's some other mask covers for you guys just to take a peek at, as they have been heavy on the variant and multiple covers with this Energon universe. I like it. I like what they've done with second, third, fourth, fifth, and 12th printings and stuff like that. I do not hunt down variant covers. I don't care about variant covers. I did find a cool Destro and Despoiler variant cover that just happened to be the one they had on the shelf, and my whole, but for the most part, I don't hunt them down. I don't care for the black and white covers, but they have made some really neat stuff, and I have gotten a couple of those alt covers I find neat. And yes, Snake Eyes is whipped. But let's see here. See everybody in the chats on Tuesday. Wife and I are watching Better Call Saul. Hell yes, dude. Go get it, Stanley. I'll see you Tuesday. Crush it. Enjoy Better Call Saul. Love that show. Great writing. You have a good night. Great writing, buddy. Absolutely. Snake Eyes is whipped, but Stanley Eberhard? Nah. Trust me, that ain't the case. And I hear you, but trust. I'm telling you. Actually, his wife is fantastic. So I can understand why he'd want to go watch Better Call Saul with her. Hands down. When does this come out? Well, it's going to be coming out soon. Let me go back to the top. Hate to give you guys the like scrolling through. Let's see here. This article came out on February 20th, so we've heard about it for a while. Let's see. Then you give you some different panels, obviously. In here, looking good. Mask number 1 will include covers from various artists, and then surprise variants are part of a blind bag program. I don't care about that. Here's some more covers. Here's the blind bag, stuff like that. It says May the 2nd, 2026, fans can get their first look at Mask in the Energon Universe Special 2026, which will release on Free Comic Book Day, Saturday, May 2nd. And then that issue will include 4 all-new stories from Transformers, G.I. Joe, Void Rivals, and Mask. The debut of the ongoing Mask series will then debut in comic stores on June 3rd, 2026. I look forward to hearing you guys' comments, and let me know what you think about it. Could be interesting. I do like Mask. It's not my, it's not my jam. But I do like it. And Nolan says the bottom 2 covers are my favorite. And, of course, I know I kind of scroll past. I'm guessing you are talking about these 2, maybe, Nolan, right here with Matt Tracker and the different masks, and then Miles Mayhem here. Maybe that's the one. Maybe Nestor, do not care about Mask, or don't know if I do. Not compared to G.I. Joe. No, I don't. But I'm curious to read along with it and see what they do with it. And Eric Thurman says, I'm in. Well, if you've been reading the Energon universe and you've seen what's kind of happened, and then this most recent G.I. Joe comic, they found the one and only Matt Tracker as one, let's just say, nasty Australian dude can do. Right? At least I think that's Major Blood. Tell me if he's British or Australian. I thought he was Australian. Maybe I'm wrong. Can't remember. You guys will correct me, and that's okay. I did want to bring up this really quickly. As of today, March the 1st, Tubi. My Cartoon Era starts March the 1st on Tubi, and this is interesting. Today on Tubi, you will find all of these cartoons. And this is a ton, man. Like a ton. And Tubi is free. Yes, I could read them to you. So I tell you what, let's go down the list, shall we? Oh no. Abbott and Costello cartoons, Addams Family 1974, The Adventures of Batman, Animaniacs, Aquaman, Astro and the Space Mutts, Adam Ant, Baby Looney Tunes, Batman, The Brave and the Bold, Be Cool Scooby-Doo, Beetlejuice, Ben 10 2005, Beware the Batman, Captain Caveman and Teen Angels, Captain Planet, Codename, Kids Next Door, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Cow and Chicken, Dastardly and Muttley and Their Flying Machines, Dexter's Laboratory, shout out Guinea Tartakovsky, Dorothy and Wizard of Oz, Dragon's Lair, Duck, Dodgers, Dukes of Hazzard, the animated series, Dumb and Dumber animated series, Dino Mutt, Dog Wonder, Ed, and Eddie, Evil, Con Carne, Flintstones Family Adventures, Flintstones Kids, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Freakazoid, Great Grape Ape, Help, It's the Hair Bear Bunch, Hong Kong Phooey, Johnny Quest, Justice League Action, Crypto the Super Dog, Legion of Superheroes, Lunatics Unleashed, Looney Tunes 3D Shorts, Looney Tunes Cartoons, Mad, Magilla Gorilla, Mucha Lucha, New Looney Tunes Show, a.k.a. Wabbit, New Scooby-Doo Mysteries, Paddington Bear, Pebbles and Bam Bam, Perils of Penelope Pitstop, Pinky and the Brain, Pinky, Elmira and the Brain, Powerpuff Girls, Pup Named Scooby-Doo, Quick Draw McGraw, Ricochet Rabbit, Scooby and Scrappy-Doo, Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, Shaggy and Scooby-Doo, Get a Clue, Smurfs, Snagglepuss, Static Shock, Super Friends, Supernatural, the anime series, Tasmania, Teen Titans, The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, The Batman, The Completely Mental Misadventures of One Ed Grimley with his triangle, The Frankenstones, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, The Heathcliff and Dingbat Show, The Mask, animated series, The New Adventures of Batman, The New Adventures of Gilligan, The New Fred and Barney Show, The New Scooby-Doo Movies, The Plastic Man Comedy Adventure Show, The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, The Secret Squirrel Show, The Super Globetrotters, The Yogi Bear Show, Tiny Toons Adventures, Tom and Jerry Comedy Show, Tom and Jerry Kids, The Tom and Jerry Show, Tom and Jerry Tales, Top Cat, Unkitty, Wacky Races 2017, Shaolin Showdown, Yo Yogi, Yogi's Galaxy Goof Ups, Yogi's Gang, Yogi's Space Race, and Yogi's Treasure Hunt. Bring! And there you have it. Hope you got all that, by the way. Whew. Okay, let's see. As Eric says, I fuck with Tubi. Tubi is fantastic. As Clint says, this is great news. Yeah, Tubi is absolutely fantastic. And these are a lot of great cartoons. I'm not going to lie. Look, old shit we grew up on. Okay? But The Adventures of Batman, I like The Brave and the Bold. I was cool with that. Beware the Batman. I was cool with that shit. I love me some Batman. But even, Beetlejuice, Ben 10, Captain Caveman, come on. Right? Abbott and Costello cartoons, the Addams Family, Animaniacs, get the fuck out of here. Dragon's Lair, Duck Dodgers, Dukes of Hazzard, Just a Good Old Boys, the animated series. It's some good shit, man. Freakazoid was good shit, right? Ed, and Eddie was some wacky ass shit. Johnny Quest, Justice League, man, come on. There's some good shit in here. Great list, and that started today, March 1st. Tubi. Find your favorite cartoon. As one Scott Warchest, who maybe just joined, maybe didn't. Does he just text me? Maybe he doesn't even know I'm live right now. Completely hung up. They gave me a surprise media dinner. There he goes. Well, ain't nothing wrong, Scott, with a surprise birthday dinner. You should just enjoy it every time you can. Matthew says, once they get away from 3 books, there's a problem. I agree. Unless you have a massive following for the spin-off, Transformers check, G.I. Joe check, Void Rivals, nope, Mask, nope. I am a little worried about that, Matthew. Can't argue with you. Let's see here. He's a New Zealander. That's right. There you go. I knew you guys would get it. Still, Tubi doesn't have Revenge of Cobra, Operation Dragonfire, but you can find it on YouTube. 16 Yojo Daddy says, picked up variants of Destro 1 through 4 that I didn't have in a dollar bin this weekend. Fantastic. I like the Destro book. Liked it. Yeah, Freakazoid, freaking-tastic. Yeah, peer-to-peer. Look, I'm with you, Dreadnought. Look, you can find anything. If you really want to, you can. Nolan says Dastardly and Muttley was the best. Yeah, there's good shit. There's some good shit in here. Pup named Scooby-Doo. No DuckTales, but again, you can find it. But like, this is free on Tubi. That's a hell of a list. You know, Great Ape. I mean, it's some good shit. Beetlejuice, right? You know, it's, again, free. Free. Hong Kong Phooey. Heathcliff. I always loved Heathcliff. That was fun. Especially when they portrayed them fighting with each other. It was just a cloud of dust, and then you'd see, like, the claws and the scratches and, like, the you know, Band-Aids or whatever. Fucking the shape of an X. That was some good shit. Yeah. I love it. There's some good stuff. Good stuff. And again, as on Tubi. Yes, pirating is free. I think, Dreadnought, that is kind of how it goes, right? If I'm not mistaken. That is a... pirating is free. That is a... that's a true statement. But sometimes you have to do it just to find stuff that you can't find anywhere. No physical media, no streaming, right? And so, yeah, I mean, you know, but, yeah, and Tubi with streaming numbers, does not shock me, Bobby, if they beat Disney. Does not shock me at all. No matter how many subscribers Disney Plus has, it does not matter. Doesn't matter because, Disney, even with their 20th Century Fox stuff, right? Even their Fox stuff, them buying up, hoarding properties, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, like, people just, they're not tuning in. They're only watching a couple shows on Disney, and then that's it. You know, they're not checking out the whole Disney verse of stuff that they've acquired, because that's all they've done. Instead of creating, they've just purchased. And we're going to get into that actually right now, because this is what's happened in the video games industry. If you guys haven't noticed, it's all about gathering companies instead of creating. It's all about buying up and then, unfortunately, closing down studios. Because the cost of making games now is through the roof. The cost of hardware is through the roof, because all the companies investing in AI now are buying up all of your RAM, all of your GPUs, all of your CPUs, all of your cooling systems, all of your storage devices. And if you want to build a PC, you are going to be paying 3 times as much to do it now as you did just a year ago. And it's all in the name of AI. Okay. So I want to start with a story. I'm going to show you guys a trailer. Show you guys a trailer of a game that came out called High Guard. This trailer was bought and paid for at the very last spot of the Game Awards. Okay? Very last spot of the Game Awards. This is a big spot. This is a huge spot to have, because generally reserved for announcing a huge game, a special game, it costs a lot of money to get this spot to finish off the Game Awards show. And this particular trailer got aired. And the host, the one who created the Game Awards, one Jeff Keighley, as we turn Otis down, is it was very curious that Jeff promoted this trailer. And it, when it was shown, didn't sit right. So let's take a look at the trailer. And then I'm going to get into kind of what happened with this game. And we'll go from there. So here we go.
Into lands uncharted and dangers untold, I venture without fear and ride without rest. For coin or for cause, I fight to the end.
light belongs to me.
Moving in for the attack.
Shield breaker forming. Blade out.
Strike fast. Siege tower coming in.
The enemy is on gates!
I'm coming for you!
Marking baddies from above.
Now, if you haven't guessed already, this is a hero shooter, like an Overwatch, okay? Like Overwatch or Apex Legends or something like that. This is a hero shooter, and if you've noticed, there's really nothing interesting or different about this shooter. It's an online multiplayer, I think 3-on-3, 3v3. But this trailer,
And this is my own.
High Guard took the very last spot at the Game Awards. And it got absolutely crushed. It got absolutely crushed because there's nothing special, nothing different about this game. The characters are very generic looking, whether they influenced by DEI or not. Very generic. There's nothing special about this game at all, and it's just another game to add to the pile of live action, live service shooter games. And most people only have so much time to play games like that. Therefore, you really have to offer something big time to pull them away from Call of Duty, to pull them away from Overwatch, to pull them away from Apex Legends, to pull them away from Arc Raiders, which is the next one that's huge, to pull them away from Helldivers, okay? So, immediately when the trailer aired, this game was DOA. 100% dead on arrival. And one of the developers posted to X his experience. Okay? He was a tech artist and a rigger. His name's Josh Sobel. And I'm going to give you guys an idea of kind of what happened with one Josh Sobel. Okay? 2 weeks after the free-to-play game's January 26 launch, Wildlight let go all but a core group of developers, despite the newly unveiled Episode 2, which was just a new addition to High Guard. Okay? And despite debuting in the top 10 in weekly active users on Steam and the top 20 on both US PlayStation and Xbox. Now, what IGN fails to mention here is that they only had about 180,000 concurrent players at peak, and then they literally lost 99.5% of those players within 2 weeks. So, one of the devs who was laid off got to X, and this is what he posted. The day leading to the Game Awards 2025, Josh Sobel says, was amongst the most exciting of my life. After 2.5 years of passionately working on High Guard, we were ready to reveal it to the world. The future seemed bright. Everyone I knew who had any connection to the team or project had the same positive sentiments, he wrote, adding that unbiased internal pre-reveal feedback was quite positive. And when it was negative, it was constructive and often actionable. But when the trailer came out, it was all downhill from there. Content creators love to point out the bias in folks who give positive previews after being flown out for an event, but ignore the fact that when their negative-leaning content gets 10 times the engagement of the positive, they've got just as much incentive to lean into the disingenuous direction, whether consciously or not. The hate started immediately. In addition to dogpiling on the trailer, I personally came under fire due to my naivety on Twitter. Now, who the fuck is naive on Twitter? Including a game dev. Okay? Which almost all of my now former coworkers had learned to avoid during their previous game launches. Then how did he not learn to avoid Twitter during a game launch? After setting my Twitter account to private to protect my sanity, many content creators made videos and posts about me and my cowardice, amassing millions of views and inadvertently sending hundreds of angry gamers into my replies. They laughed at me for being proud of the game, told me to get out the McDonald's applications, and mocked me for listing having autism in my bio, which they seemed to think was evidence the game would be woke trash. All of this was very emotionally taxing. Okay? We were turned into a joke from minute one, largely due to false assumptions about $1 million ad placement, which even prominent journalists soon began to state as fact. Within minutes, it was decided this game was DOA. The next Concord 2. Okay? All right. I'm going to interject here. First and foremost, have you guys heard of a company called Tencent? Okay? Because Tencent was funding this game. Tencent is a huge game development company out of China. Tencent funded this trailer. They funded this development team. They funded this game. And they paid for the ad placement at the end of the Game Awards, of which this guy says false assumptions about $1 million ad placement. But they weren't false assumptions. They were actually real when it was found out that Tencent actually was funding this game. Gamers saw the trailer. Gamers rejected the trailer. They rejected the game. The level of toxic positivity in the gaming industry is run rampant because they've brought in tons of activists and tons of people, as we'll see here in a minute, into the gaming industry, and a lot of women. Now, in most game companies, toxic positivity is a huge thing. Because if you bring up something negative, if you don't like a character design, okay, you're seen as being negative. And that's not allowed in the modern game development space. Okay? So you can see where I'm kind of going with this, right? This guy says that everybody involved with the game said how great it was, how wonderful it was. It can't fail. And yet, as soon as they showed the trailer, the people who would be your customers told you they didn't like it. Which means that everybody that was involved with development had toxic positivity. So, little update here. Josh Sobel deleted his X account entirely just days after publishing an article blaming gamers for Highguard's failure. Looks like the deflection didn't land the way that he expected. Now, there were some very interesting gaming devs, some of which from indie studios anyway, actually responded. And they called out the actual, like, that everyone involved basically shielded each other from any negative comments. To the point where they actually believed this game was going to be successful because they all believed it, but didn't get proper feedback from people. And then when the game released, they're shocked that people didn't like it. or when they revealed it, they're shocked that people didn't accept it because everyone they knew involved with the project thought it was great. It was unbelievable. It's the next Fortnite. There's only so many Fortnites. And again, you're talking about a live service game where your biggest thing is getting people's time. And you have to give them something that takes their time away from this other thing they really like. And no one saw in that trailer anything that they liked. Okay? Nothing. So, and again, as Will says here, yeah, it's pretty much Hollywood now. The gaming industry. And I want you guys to understand something too as we get into some of these numbers, because I want to show you guys something I think that you're going to find pretty interesting. Okay? Is that the gaming industry, the video games, tabletop gaming, and other things, okay, have been taken over by women. There have been companies who have made it a point to prioritize hiring women and bringing women into the space. Now, there's nothing wrong with hiring women, but here's the deal. We've seen it. We've even kind of seen it in toys, specifically in comics, video games in particular, and after the Me Too movement in Hollywood. But particularly in gaming and toys, women are able to come into nerd spaces and take over easily into nerd spaces because they know that is an arena that the guys will let them take over. They will let them take over. And so women found it very easy to come in and take over comics. They very, very easily came in and took over the gaming industry because generally the men involved in video game development in the comic industry, okay, super nerds, they're not going to fight back. They're not. Right? Now, Todd, I agree to an extent, corporate America, but part of corporate America is what? Right? We have to fill these positions with women. Now, I'm not saying it's all just women, but I'm going to give you some figures. I'm going to give you some ideas here, okay, about what I'm talking about. For instance, the Embracer Group, okay? Embracer Group made it a point to purchase up game development companies. And Embracer Group is extremely DEI focused. Extremely DEI focused. They want more women in gaming. They want more diversity in gaming. And while on the surface that sounds great, but in practice, that's where you end up with your issues, because then you're hiring based off of not talent, you're hiring based off of a checkbox. So if we look at the major owners of most all of gaming here, okay, as we look at this big pie, we look at Microsoft, and you see some of the biggest names in gaming that they have purchased up, like Blizzard, ZeniMax, which is your Fallout, right? Your Bethesda's. You look at Raven Studios, In Exile, id, Blizzard, Activision, Obsidian, Arcane, right? If we look at Ubisoft, we see obviously everything Ubisoft owns, which is mostly their brand. Take-Two is your Rockstar, your 2K, right? Very narrow focus. Embracer Group this whole slew of game companies that Embracer Group has. If you go back and you look at their games and what they've produced, you'll find some heavy similar themes. Within, you'll find a lot of LGBTQ themes in a lot of their games. You'll find women at the forefront of a lot of their games. You'll find a lot of male characters that are pushed to the background of a lot of their games. EA, obviously specializing in Madden. That's really about all that EA needs. And then Tencent, right here, with everything that they own, right here. Now, the thing about this is that all of gaming is owned by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 companies. And then you have some independents, right? You do have some independents. But when 7 companies, like Hollywood, when everything gets purchased up by just a few companies, then at that point, not only are you shutting down ones you don't think are profitable, which I get it from a business standpoint, makes sense, but you also lose competition. There's no competition. And then you have a overseer like Embracer Group basically saying, if you want to make this game, we'll fund it, like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. But we want you to put in an option for your main character, for all of a sudden your main character, the option to romance his best friend, who there's been no inkling of a romance between, which is what happened in the second game. No inkling whatsoever. But when Embracer Group purchased Warhorse Studios, who made Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, they, I'm sure, asked them for a concession, which is you need to have representation in this game. In medieval Bohemia, with a lead character who is a religious character. It made no sense. And that's just one example. But the main thing I wanted to get to was the GDC Game Developer Conference, which was a, let's see here. Let me get rid of this. Which was a survey that they had the devs fill out. A survey that they got me again. All right. Let's put you. All right. Wow. Check one. What in the... StreamYard acting up again. Give me one sec. I hate this application. Oh, God, I really do. All right, give me 2 seconds. Check one. I'm getting an echo, so I apologize. I think it is because I switched hats. Ah. Check. All right, there we go. Beautiful. All right. That was frustrating. Holy shit. Okay. All right, I'm going to bring up this survey from GDC. And I found it pretty fascinating because it tells you a lot about who is in the gaming industry, who's making your games. And it's a pretty easy questionnaire. Boom. All right. This will kind of give you the information I think we're looking for. All right. State of the gaming industry 2026. Demographics of the industry. All right. About 2/3 of this year's respondents are men. 1/4 are women, 64 to 24%. And 8% are non binary. 8% of the demographics of the gaming industry is non binary. 28% of respondents identify as LGBTQ. 28% of the developers making your games, that responded to this survey, 28% is a huge percentage that does not accurately represent the population as a whole, for one. But 28%, increasing to 31% for those living in the United States. So when we talk about Western game development and you wonder, where did all the macho male characters go? Why do, all of my characters in games, why are so many of them, gay? Why do they look gay? Why do they have this side shaved haircut? If it's a woman, what are these character designs? Why do they look this way? Well, this will give you a decent indication of why that's the case. This is also interesting. About 39% of respondents 18 to 34 identify as LGBTQ+, and that percentage rises to 46% among respondents 24 or younger. So you mean to tell me in the gaming industry, 46% of the respondents to this survey that were 24 and under, 46%, almost half of the respondents to this survey at the Game Developer Conference are gay. So tell me, what kind of games, what kind of stories, what kind of characters do you think that we're going to get if almost 50% of 24 and under identify as gay? It tells you like everything that you need to know. For instance, just to give you an idea, as I share this tab and we look at these characters here, okay? If you look at these characters, okay, and you look at the sales, you look at the fan bases, you look at like who's into these characters, and this is kind of a bit of a joke, but for gooners, okay, some of your live service, some of your single player games, okay, like Stellar Blade, and then you look at your modern audience characters. And you look at the layoffs, you look at the stock market drops, you look at the peak player counts. Concord, biggest gaming failure of all time. Forspoken, shut the studio down. You've got then this character at the bottom middle is going to be the new Naughty Dog game that's coming out. It's pretty interesting to see the differences between not only the success of some of these games, but obviously the failures of others. I mean, just look at the differences in the character designs alone, and tell me, what do gamers and what most gamers, not game developers, most gamers identify as what? They're young, mostly white males that are heterosexual, and they're usually between the ages of, like, 12 to 25. Okay? They're not gay. They're not into gay stuff. They're just not. It's the truth. And anytime people want to argue that point, all you got to do is just go in the real world and talk to them. And you'll find out they ain't into that shit. Okay? They're not into this. They're not into this. Okay? They're not into this haircut. They're not into this style. They're not into the non-binary. They're not into fat shit. They're not into it. They don't dig it. It ain't cool to them. And no matter how many times these companies try, it never will be. So we get back to this and we see, again, 24%, 24 or younger in the Game Developer Conference survey. 46% identify as gay. That is crazy. Not 24 or younger. 39%, 18 to 34, 39%. That is not a representation of what our society really is, right? Okay. So, what race, ethnicity, or origin best describes you? Okay, U.S. only. 67% white, 6% Hispanic, 5% black, African Caribbean, 5% East Asian, 2% Southeast Asian, 1% Middle Eastern, 1% South Asian. Then you have 7% not listed or multiple ethnicities, and then 4% prefer not to answer. So we have 67% white people in the gaming industry. This isn't a total count, but this is a good idea. Okay? So 67% white. And out of that 67%, you're going to tell me that 39%, or really 31%, living in the United States, which this is a U.S. only, out of 67% white, 31% of them are gay. That's huge. And again, look, I don't give a shit who you sleep with. I don't care when you're at home. I don't care who you sleep with. But you can't tell me this isn't affecting the games in the Western gaming market. And you can't tell me that part of the reason why these games are not selling is because the people making the games are making games for themselves, and themselves don't play games. Themselves don't buy games. They don't support the product. They're not into the shit. They're not into shooters. And the few that are, and yes, there are some, of course, are not enough to support the industry. So when they make these games, look, when they make Tim Drake gay, when they age up Superman's son to 17 years old, they make him gay. Okay? Guess what happens to those comics? They don't sell because no one wants that comic. There's not enough interest in that comic because the people buying the comics ain't into that shit. They're just not. It's just the truth, man. People can deny it. They talk about it all the time. That's all they want. No, you can't say that. I'll give anything a chance. Right. But that's not what people want. In the gaming industry, even though as an entertainment industry, it surpasses Hollywood by leaps and bounds. But time after time, these games are failing. And they're failing because of the people that are making them are not making them for the general audience, or they're not making them for their target audience. They're making them for themselves. They're doing self-inserts. They're putting themselves in the characters. They're making themselves the character art with septum rings and shaved heads on the side and all that shit. It is what it is. It's just the truth. And these games aren't selling. And then they ask why. Why is the game? Oh, you must be a bigot. You must be an istophobe. You must be a racist. You must hate women. No, you're not making games that people want to play because you're putting self-inserts into these games. You're making games for yourself. You also see that years of experience, if we look at the chart It says over half respondents reported less than 10 years of experience in the gaming industry. And you want to know why? Because they 54% less than 10 years of experience because they ran out all the experienced people. You know why? Because they didn't have the right politics. See, the people that had the experience that were making games in the 90s and 2000s and 2010s that were selling like hotcakes that people liked to buy, that had the great covers on them and had the great hero shooters or the macho shooters, it's because those people have been run out of the industry just like Hollywood. They got them out of there. And then you get women in charge. You get gay people making the games. And I'm not saying that you can't have gay people making games. I'm not saying that they can't be talented enough to make games. That's not the point. The point is they have invaded an industry, found a way in. These companies, these corporations have brought them in and fundamentally changed how stories are written. They implemented a bunch of rules about how characters can be portrayed. And luckily, you get an independent studio every now and then who breaks the mold, thank God, and actually makes something people want to play, like Stellar Blade, for instance. They don't give a fuck. This is our game. This is what we're going to do. 62% of respondents work at game companies or studios in a variety of roles. 45% of folks work at independent studios, 31% at AAA studios, 18% at AA, and 6% at co-development studios. Most people are in game development. Some people are in education. Some people are in consultant. Some people are in publishing, so and so. But most people in development. 30% are at companies 250 people or more. 20% are in companies that are 50 to 249. 22% are at 10 to 49. Okay. One person said the market has been so challenging, I'm not sure I'll remain in games. This is somebody who was laid off 12 months ago. Former C-level marketing and PR person. 1 in 4 have been laid off in the past 2 years. The reason why is because they're spending tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to make games. And then when people see trailers like what they saw out of High Guard, or if they see trailers out of other games where they have characters that they don't relate to, they don't care about, they don't like, they don't find attractive because they're not into that shit, okay, then the game doesn't sell. And when the game don't sell and you spend $150 million making it and nobody buys it or plays it, yeah, people are going to get fucking laid off. So my question is, who the fuck is blowing smoke up these people's asses for 5 years developing a game that nobody wants? And then when they lose their job, they're like, I can't believe we lost our job. I can't believe they shut us down. I can't believe nobody wanted to play this game. I mean, could you seriously tell me modern games characters? Go to images. Can you tell me whether or not people want to play games with characters that look like this? Or 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 how about Laura Croft, right? The lovely Laura Croft, who's been fucked over now for the last several years in her looks. It is, and sorry for not highlighting you guys' comments, right? And Todd says, I like playing games with a short, fat Italian plumber. Right, exactly. But the truth of the matter is this is what we've been given. Game studios look more and more, they're more and more female dominated. They're more and more LGBTQ dominated. Do you want to play games where your main characters look like this? Is this what you want out of your games? And the answer is no. When you are 18 years old, drinking Red Bull and Mountain Dew, okay, buying the latest Xbox, saving up your money, or playing on PC, and you get your latest games, and you look at your latest games that you could buy, okay, is this what you want? Is this what you want to play? Are these the main characters you're forced to play as? Do you want to play as these characters? These are all characters out of very extremely recent games. And tell me, yes, there might be one or two that we all would say, oh, yeah, that's kind of interesting. But the reality is, these are hideous. These are fucking hideous. And nobody's going to tell or pretend like it's not. These characters look like shit. Especially, these are all female characters, by the way. All of them. This is brutal. And guess what? I guarantee you, every one of these characters, someone in the development team of these games was picked as the model for these characters. Someone in the studio was picked as the model for the character design, the facial features, 100% guaranteed. And this is what you're getting. People don't want to play these games. It is a demasculization of society, and we've seen it. We've seen it for years and years and years. We know it. If you go back to the early 2000s and you watch commercials, if you want to watch G4 TV, watch the coverage of video games and see what they were all about. And people say, oh, it's all masculinity. It was all toxic masculinity. No, it's called masculinity. There's nothing toxic about it. It's masculine. Right? It just is. But this is not what people want. And if in the United States you have 46% 24 and under in game development that identify as many of the characters portrayed here on these screenshots, you ain't selling those games. And when people act surprised, like their studio got shut down, it's no surprise. It's the fucking truth. And the cold, hard truth is people ain't into this shit. Period. Not in Hollywood. That's why movies ain't doing well. It's not the only reason. Okay? But it's a big reason. And in video games, your target audience isn't into this shit. They're not. Period. That's just the truth. People want to make excuses. They want to dance around the subject. And they want to talk about, oh, no. It is, right? And HK Viper says, did anyone tell them that just because you haven't touched a boob yet doesn't make you gay? You are what you are. You know what you like. And the overwhelming majority of people playing games aren't. They're just not. It's the truth. And when 47% says, do you anticipate future layoff at your company within the next, 12 months? 23% said yes, 30% unsure, 47% say no. That's great, okay? But then you had one respondent, game designer, manager, says, I've been laid off so many times in the last 5 or 6 years, had so many turbulent issues working in games, I have trauma and can't ever fully trust anyone anywhere now. If those aren't some of the gayest fucking words I've ever heard, I mean, that sentence alone, like, fucking grow the fuck up. Christ almighty. Oh, so gay. Then you have a student, game design. There aren't any jobs. Everyone's getting fired. It's fucked. Well, you did it to yourself, and the companies that hired you did it to themselves by greenlighting this bullshit that nobody wanted. And of course, they all blame mismanagement, right? It's mismanagement. Yeah, it's mismanagement, all right. It's giving you a concept of a game and giving you characters, you creating characters that nobody wants. That's what it is. In their own words, let's see what they had to say about it, shall we? Leadership failed to see that the COVID era boom was not permanent, and the company went on an acquisition spree before being acquired. Now money's a lot tighter because the goldfish with the money want returns yesterday so they can funnel it to the current fad, generative AI. Another quote, I feel like this question implies there's a justified reason for layoffs at large studios. What I can assure you is there almost always is not. No, it's called business. There are layoffs. It happens, but especially when you underperform, you don't get to keep your fucking job. This sounds like someone who doesn't understand like big boy real life. That you can keep making shitty fucking games with shitty fucking characters that nobody buys and somehow have a fucking job. It's unbelievable. We're coming up towards launch, another quote, and if sales aren't good enough, there'll be layoffs. Yeah, that's what the fuck happens when you make shitty games. Executives who have never actually worked as a dev are pulling up the boards on their ships, throwing people overboard, and expecting these scuttled ghost ships to keep making them infinite money. Now, this is a quote that I truly understand, and this quote makes a lot of sense because, yes, the executives do make all the money. It's obscene how much money they make. It's fucking ridiculous. And the people who actually do the work are the ones that don't really get to reap the benefits, especially when successful. Okay? Not like they should, because they did put in the work. All right? And also, it's these companies who also think they're going to continue to make money forever. Especially on live service. If they don't put in the time to make a game that pulls people away from their current thing they enjoy. That's the trick. You have to make something that is pulling someone away. You are competing for time. Everyone is competing for time, especially in this industry. 100%. I don't care if you pipe dudes or scissor chicks. It's just not for everyone. Identity politics has to go. 100%, Eric. 100%. It just is. People are tired of it. They're over it. They're done with it. They don't care about fucking pronouns. Fuck your pronouns. Fuck your pronouns. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody respects them. Nobody gives a fuck about your fucking pronouns. They don't give a fuck. Pronouns are for pussies. So you can see that then generative AI, 64% say no, they don't use them as part of their job. It will increase. It will be part of it. It will be part of making games. Generative AI is here. It's not going anywhere. Do I think there'll be a backlash to generative AI? Yes, I do. I think that people are tired of seeing those sloppy ass fucking Star Wars videos now that like all of a sudden now my fucking YouTube is filled with these sloppy shit ass Star Wars stories where the emotionless fucking characters who speak like they're, instead of a scene where they're supposed to be yelling at someone, speak in a hushed tone like someone could hear them 300 yards away or 100 yards away. Oh, those videos are shit. They're so bad. And yet people are just eating that shit up like it's just unbelievable. Like, it is just unbelievable. Generative AI, my biggest problem with AI is that it is making everything cost so much because these companies are investing billions and billions in it. And maybe next week I'll talk about a recent paper that was released about AI agents released to each other and what they actually do, because it's a fascinating paper that I read. And gives you an idea of the end game, depending on the circumstances for AI, but not in the gaming industry. Half workers think generative AI is bad for the industry. That doesn't surprise me because they know it means that their job is redundant and it means that they would not have a job. I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, it's just the truth. Their job literally would be gone. Right? Most people feel it's a tool. I get that. Most people feel that AI is a tool to be used. It's another tool in the toolbox, and it's a paintbrush. People say that until they lose their job over it. As this guy says, it's a tool, and tools are meant to be used by humans. But we'll see. We'll see the cultural impact of AI and what it does for the job market. Because I already have a friend who is in logistics, and he's been looking for jobs, and he's finding out that companies have now reduced their work staff because they're starting to use AI to handle a lot of things within their companies, which reduces their work staff considerably. And now he quit a very good job and is now finding out that the job market is not exactly doing great. And we get into game engines. I will be honest with you guys. I hate Unreal Engine. I think that it is the bane of this current generation's existence. Most games that are using UE5 are shitty fucking games. They're absolutely terrible. Dreadnought K6 says real AI will have no guardrails and will be uncontrollable and a danger to mankind. I agree, 100%. I truly believe. I think that's where it's kind of headed. To be honest with you, what are you or your company's top factors for choosing a platform to release a game? Audience reach, business model, ease of use, accessibility, content policies, player tools. I think the other big problem we have is that because Microsoft and Sony have started buying up a lot of these companies, and then they offer their Games Pass services. It's no longer a value for $30 a month. It's no longer a value. And what turns it in? It turns it into a collection platform, like iTunes, like MP3s, like Kazaa or LimeWire. You download as much shit as you can download, and you can't possibly listen to it all. So you just collect games. You collect shit. You have a backlog, and you'll never play them, ever. You'll never get a chance to finish these games. And it just is. And it's become collection platforms. Now, how many games can I download and never play? And that doesn't help development teams. That doesn't help companies because, you put it on Games Pass. People pay $30 a month for Games Pass, but they don't even play the game. Right? It doesn't help them. It doesn't help them at all. Let's see here. This is interesting. What platform most interests you as a developer right now? 80% PC. 80% PC. And I dare say most people do not play their games on PC. I don't know how many of you guys do, but I bet you that most of y'all do not play your games on PC, if I had to guess. And if you're like me with moderate carpal tunnel syndrome, then it gets very difficult. One thing I would like to see, however, is VR make a bigger leap, but unfortunately, I think Meta has basically just slashed the fuck out of their VR department, unfortunately. They've closed down various studios that have had successful games, which means that we will no longer see VR games from very talented studios. I do hate that. It really is. It really is a shame. Yeah, and look, government systems rolling out AI, right, or government jobs rolling out AI. Yeah, absolutely, and they're going to cut their workers. They're going to absolutely slash their workers. And like I said earlier, I think my worry for AI is when it is released into, uh, well, into what we think it's going to be released into. And then are we going to have war games on our hands? I mean, that's, you know. Um, let's see here. The business of games. If there's anything else really interesting to derive from this survey, there is some pretty actual interesting stuff. I will put the link for this in the chat if any of you guys are actually interested in this report. But it is an interesting survey. It does take a lot of these developers, and they're the ones that do answer. Here they say, 38% said U.S. based tariffs are having an impact on their companies, on their expenses, revenue, financial decisions. I don't know whether that's true or not. If we see here, we've got a woman of color, we have some dude in a fucking mask in this picture, and then we have some blue hair fucking fruitcake, all in the same picture. So, their responses, I don't know if I can trust those responses. To be quite honest. I mean, look, this guy's wearing a fucking mask. Okay, it's 2026. Take the goddamn mask off. Get with the fucking real world and quit being a fucking bitch. Christ. Like, seriously. Like, it's time people started talking to people like adults and not like fucking children. Because we've coddled each other to the point where, like, everyone's a child. And then when they don't get to hear something that makes their day, they throw a fucking tantrum. And they act like a fucking child. And it's silly. And it's sick. And quite disgusting, to be quite honest with you. To see people act like children. And cannot be talked to. Like, literally, you cannot tell someone what's on your mind. That's why the toxic positivity part in the gaming industry in particular is so rampant, because heaven forbid you tell someone that you didn't like their idea, because then they'll complain about you to HR, saying that you're oppressing them or you're not recognizing them because they are an underprivileged group, or they're part of a fucking group that instead of clapping, they do this shit. When they approve of shit. Like this dumb shit right here. Like stupid motherfuckers. Advocacy. Half of game workers have put in a 50-hour work week. Oh, no. Oh, no. From the comfort of their own fucking home, probably. That's the other part they don't tell you. They don't even go to the office anymore. They fucking work from home. They put in 50-hour work week. Oh, and their fucking underwear. Oh, no. Jesus Christ. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Saw today our modems could track us through AI and thermal imaging. Yes, 100%. And yes, very much forced with ESG scores and DEI policies, Dreadnought, 100%. They are tied to loans. They're tied to interest rates. If you want a good interest rate and you want to get a loan, then you better implement these policies. I would like to think most people, it's just like this whole Tourette syndrome thing that happened at the BAFTAs. Like, how is it now all of a sudden people are discovering Tourette's? Did not everybody fucking hear about Tourette's when they were like a fucking kid? I knew about Tourette's when I was a kid. Like, how are all these people all of a sudden discovering Tourette's now? Like, they didn't even know about Tourette's. Like, I don't get it. It's like selective outrage, kids. Majority of game workers would like to join a union. Yeah, well, unions fucking suck. But, more power to you. They want to join a union, obviously, because they want certain protections for not doing their job, for fucking up. They want to be protected for not working worth a shit, so they could just keep their job for not performing. And I see it, prime example, the United States Postal Service, which I have two family members who have worked there for over 30 years. And I can personally tell you that the unions have protected people who aren't worth a fuck. And if you wonder why your mail is fucked up, then you can thank the fucking unions at your United States Postal Service. Marginalized workers more likely to spot DEI changes on the job. Okay, this is a big one I wanted to get into. Over the past 12 months, we've seen companies like Meta, Disney, IBM roll back some of their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and initiatives, along with reports of implied shifts, ambiguity, and the chilling effect of anti-DEI rhetoric. We wanted to see if these changes are having an impact on the game industry. For currently employed people in the United States, 1/5 who identify as LGBTQ+, and 18% of women and non-white participants said they've noticed changes related to diversity and equity issues or free speech. Get the fuck out. Because if anybody's able to speak freely, it's all of those people that I just listed. However, only 1/10 of men and 13% of white respondents reported the same. Altogether, 14% said they've seen changes, 63% said they have not, and 23% were unsure. Campuses are a different story. Almost half of surveyed educators and students in the gaming industry said they've noticed changes at their school. However, only 76 respondents answered this question, so the smaller sample size limits its impact. Okay, number one, they should roll back diversity and equity policies in every business because it is a failure. It is a way to make sure your business fails by putting people who are not qualified in positions, in particular positions of power, to make decisions. Because you have people doing jobs that they should never have gotten because they are not qualified. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter who you fuck in your bedroom. If you're not qualified, guess what? You're not fucking qualified. And you shouldn't be given a job over somebody it is, regardless of who they fuck in their bedroom or what race they are or what gender they are. Period. Have you avoided traveling to the United States because of current immigration or gender identity policies? Wait, what? What? We asked workers based outside the United States whether current immigration or gender identity policies have impacted current or future travel plans. Almost 1/3 said they've canceled travel plans to the U.S., and 1/3 are reconsidering future plans. The percentage increased to nearly half for those who identify as gay. So, people from outside the United States, one of the gayest fucking countries, if not the most gay-friendly country in the world, don't want to travel to the United States because they think it's not gay-friendly? I can't even wrap my head around how fucking ignorant these people are. This is made up boogeymen. It's made up boogeymen in these people's minds. They come up with these fucking whack ass fucking theories and whack ass shit. This is one of the, if you're black, there is no better place to be than the United States of America. If you are gay, there is no better place to be than the United States of America. If you're trans, there is no better place to be than the United States of America. Hell, at this point, if you're Muslim or Middle Eastern, there's no better place to be than the United States of America. There's no better place to live than the United States of America, where you can basically get away with fucking murder. At the very least, if you're Somali, you can get away with funneling and stealing tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money. Or at least be washing it for politicians in the state of Minnesota. Laundering it for powerful people. Or you could be doing that. It is unbelievable how people think that this country is a horrible place to be. Turn your fucking TV on and tell me all the underprivileged people who are represented on your television set every fucking day. On the news, in sports, in entertainment, in comedy. celebrities, left and right. There is no better place to live than the United States of America. No matter who the fuck you are. And yet, these people literally are saying that because of gender identity policies, they're canceling plans to come. Okay. Tell you what. Go to the Middle East then. Go visit there and let me know how they feel about your gender identity. Go to China. Let me know how they feel about your gender identity. Go to North Korea. Tell me how they feel. Let me know. Let me know what your experience is. I mean, come on. Outrageous. And current immigration policies, well, if you are coming here to work on video games with a work visa, then you have no problems. But if you're trying to come across the border illegally, then yeah, that's going to be a problem. And also, it says here, have current immigration or gender identity policies in the United States impacted your ability to recruit or retain talent for your company? 49% no, 33% unsure, 17% yes. No, of course not, because those that can work on games, that are qualified to work on games or to work in a valid business to get a work visa or the ability to go somewhere and work, do it legally, then no. Why would you be worried? Why can you not recruit people? If they can come into your country legally, what's the problem? So yes, I can see why 50% almost said no to this. Fascinating survey. There are several others that they do at other conferences. But if you want to know why video games continue to fail and why more and more people are going back and playing their old games and having fun with their old games, having fun with the stuff that they grew up playing years ago, there's a reason. It's because the new games that are getting developed have characters like this. And they don't want this. And the people that do don't support games in the first place. They don't support comics. They don't support toys. They don't support movies. They don't support TV shows. And yet they'll be the first ones to cry and moan and bitch when a new game comes out and has a white male protagonist as the lead character. These are the people that get pissed off. When companies stop actually kowtowing to these people and they stop giving these people what they want, which is a bunch of virtue signaling, then you've cleared a hurdle for your game to be successful. So the next part is actually making a good game. I mean, it's literally that simple. Now, I'm not saying game development is simple, but you get my point. Okay? You get my point. I mean, we you know, yeah, exactly, Yo-Joe Daddy. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I would rather abolish the IRS and use tariffs. Would you? I have no problem with that policy. Why would anybody else have a problem with that policy? And yes, Dreadnought, racism, feminism, Marxism, communism, socialism, seismic, and all are all ideologies who are created by Zionist ideologues used to destroy societies and further Zionism. I'm not going to argue with you there. right? I'm not going to argue with you there. I do think we are in. Look, we've all heard about the culture war. We all know it's real. Like it is real. And I would dare say that as we look across the landscape of business and we look across the landscape of government, we look across the landscape of sports, we look across the landscape of our entertainment, what we've seen is an invasion, just like in our country from illegals, an invasion and a takeover, a hostile takeover of various industries. And as we've seen these industries fail time and time again and lose money, we've seen comics lose money because they've decided to make every character gay or bi, or we could go down a huge list. I could type a list in right now. We could go down every one of them they changed in the last 10 to 15 years. If we want to go through games and we want to look at this, if we want to go into politics and you want to look at your politicians that are being elected into office right now and other people that are in control, if you want to look at your corporate boards and you want to look at, we need 50% men and 50% women. If you want to look at the NFL and all their social justice causes and the feminization of the NFL in particular, the NFL is the only one that seems to continue to grow and grow and grow and prosper. People have less and less faith in their politicians now. They have less and less faith in companies in particular. And then you see our entertainment, arts and entertainment, which is downstream from politics. And when you start injecting politics into your arts and entertainment, that's how you're able to try to control a society. That's how you're able to brainwash people. And this shit, we need to get this shit out. Now, I'm not saying that there's not place for games for people if they want to support it, but until we see a game truly get supported, that truly is successful by employing character designs like this, then I'll believe it when I see it. But until then, we haven't. We have not. And co-opting current characters that have been one gender for decades or one sexual preference for decades of their existence, instead of creating a new character and trying to get people on board with a new character, they just decide to take an existing character and change their sexuality or change their gender or change their race and get you on board with that, instead of creating a new character to get you excited. Because they know the only way they can get anybody to pay attention is by taking an existing character of something and then changing them into something that they're not. For instance, Tim Drake. It's disgusting. It just is. But I thought there were some interesting statistics out of that game developer conference. The most notable one being the extremely high percentage of people that are 24 and under or 18 to 34 that identify as LGBTQ. I find that fascinating to me in video games. And that gives you an idea of why we're getting some of the characters that we get, why some of the games that we get, the writing, the dialogue, right? Like, it's not good. We know it's not good. And that's part of the reason why. There's other reasons, but that is definitely part of the reason why. Okay, y'all. I am going to get out of here. It's been about 2.5 hours or 2 hours, 45 minutes, I think. So at this point, I'm going to get out of here because I got to work tomorrow. I hope you guys have had a fantastic weekend. I will be back Tuesday night with Matthew to go over the movie industry and television. And we'll check out. We'll see what we got. I apologize for the technical difficulties tonight. I honestly can't tell you what it is. I've got a setup. It's a pretty good setup. I don't know why. My apologies. Hopefully that didn't run anybody off tonight. But I do appreciate you guys hanging in with me. Really do. You guys are awesome. And I will be back Tuesday night with Matthew for the Evening Blend right here at 9 Central. And then on Wednesday night on 3 Star Draws channel, I'll be with him on Sevens Wild. with 3-star. And so if you guys ain't doing nothing Wednesday night, come hang out with us. And until then, man, you guys have a great night. And again, I really, 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 really do appreciate y'all hanging out. And there's only one
So
more.
long, gay boys!
See y'all.